The Square Ball Podcast.
Hello, welcome to the show. Dan here with Michael Normanson, along with Moscow White, Daniel Chapman. TSB Weekly Show brought to you by Levi Solicitors. 10% discount is yours at levisolicitors.co.uk/the Square Ball. Have a look at TSB Plus as well. We've got a bumper propaganda extra this week, haven't we, that strays into some interesting territory, including quite a lot of hot piss chat. Literally hot piss chat.
Literally hot piss chat.
Yeah, I know the word literally is overused, but it is literally hot piss chat this week there. That's a special members only show. Makes it sound a little bit kinkier than perhaps it is.
It is just chat, to reassure you.
Yeah, there's no... And we do video now, but it's predominantly kind of audio based. Yeah. We never leave our seats. There's no fluids are never exchanged. No. Good.
The pictures it will create in your mind will speak more than any images could.
Exactly. Yes, TSB Plus is our membership package. You get priority access to the Match Ball live stream after a game, priority access to the podcast straight afterwards, daily email from Moscow as well with all the essential Leeds United news. Plenty of stuff there.
And sometimes Rob, if you don't like me.
Yes.
So it gets mixed up.
He does the best ones.
Thank God. thesquareball.net/plus for details on that. Part one of the weekly show then is all about catching up on the news, and the news is that the transfer window, it slams shut in a week.
Is it 1 week? Is that official?
Something like that.
I've lost track.
We're recording this. It should be said we are recording this on Tuesday afternoon because the Wednesday game against Barnsley, which we'll speak about in a minute, is going to bugger things up, and this will come out probably after Barnsley. So we'll do our preview in that. We may have to record two versions and just leave in the version that's accurate. Because it'll be a preview and a review, I guess, won't it? Yeah.
So it'll be after we've unveiled our new left back as well.
Exactly.
What a great signing. I think they're going to be brilliant.
We've got a week left on the transfer window, or thereabouts. It's shut at the end of August, isn't it? And it seems to be only outgoing rumours at the minute. Jackie? Newcastle and their pathetic bid?
For God's sake, keep Jackie. Now's not the time. In summer, by all means, yes, we'd have happily waved goodbye to him. Sinistero looks so much better. But not now.
Yeah, don't sell players after we've realised they're good. It's not the way to do it. Unless, I suppose, we did with Rafinha. But he's now, I suppose he's moved himself in 3 games into that Rafinha-Phillips bracket, where if we sold another one, we're doing like the Leicester model, but 3 times as much at once.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and it's not good enough.
And the sort of money Newcastle are offering, it's just not worth it, is it?
No, it's ridiculous. Like, it's an insult.
Yes, it's an insult to our intelligence and our bank balance. We spoke about it on propaganda, actually.
An insult to Jackie.
Yeah, we don't need to double up on this. Dan James as well, linked with moves to Spurs.
It's a bit more interesting.
According to a bit in paper, that's the journalist Alan Nixon, suggesting loan for the season with a guaranteed 20 million at the end of it. We paid 25.
I don't really know what to do with Dan James. I feel like he's probably somewhat useful, and I feel like if he plays against us for Spurs, he'll almost certainly there'll be a big diagonal ball in behind and he'll score. But there is a bit of me thinks if we can get our money back for him.
But why is it that everybody's trying to cast judgment on players all the time and saying he's not good enough? I think he's fine. He's fine for where we are at, probably for the amount we've paid. We're sort of in that ballpark now of creeping towards having a 20 to 25 million pound player in most positions, and we're still not there yet because you think about what Firpo cost, and we've still got probably a bargain with Rocker by the looks of it, but there's still not every player is 20 million quid, are they? So let's keep him because he was quite expensive. Get some enjoyment out of him because he was quite expensive. Whether or not he was worth being that expensive is a different question.
If we were going to sell him, I should say it would be on the condition that we do replace him as well. We spend that money on someone. We don't just go, oh well, lovely, we'll put that in the back pocket and we'll spend that on something else, a court case.
Yeah, I mean, Newcastle think they can get Jackie Harrison for less than we spent on Dan James. So that suggests something about where the market is, because that's impossible. We're never going to get a player. I don't know if we'll get a player as good as Dan James for the price. That's the thing. The idea that we paid too much for him, you look around the league and you see lots of players that clubs have paid too much for. The strength with him is he can, although people don't like it, play as a striker. He does it for Wales as well as for us in a 2, so he can play as a 1 on his own or as a 2, and he can play. He could probably do any of the 3 spots behind the striker, so he covers a lot in our team fits the style of play superbly with all his energy and kicking Chelsea players for no reason.
Good reason.
That was last season's model.
Chelsea pricks.
But he buys into all that. He does all of that. 24, so still a couple of years of improvement left minimum, and then he will immediately go downhill. But you want a big squad with good players. Then you don't sell people like Dan James just because you're not sure where he's going to start.
Yeah, people seem to want the perfect signing all the time, and I think he's far from perfect, but he's absolutely. It sounds like damning him with faint praise here, but he's perfectly adequate for the level that we're at, and he's so dangerous with his pace.
We mentioned on Propaganda, Spurs are interested in him for a reason, and when we bought him from Scum, Leicester were interested in him, and Leicester have got a decent team. That obviously I think they've not refreshed it enough. Kicking Schmeichel out, long overdue. But I think any Premier League team at our kind of level likes the look of Dan James, so keep him.
Young McKinstry, back north of the border, Motherwell for the season on loan. I didn't realise we'd only signed him sort of 3 years ago. It feels like he's been around for like 10 years, even though he's only a mere slip of a lad.
It's the perils of announcing youth players as new signings, is they get a profile and then you think 6 months later you're like, well, why ain't he playing? It's like, well, because he's still 16. But yeah, so that's he looks like a winger.
Is that right? What makes you say that?
His face.
He's got a winger's face.
He's got a real Scottish winger's face about him, and his sort of wedgy haircut. I like it. It's a good look, and I've always sort of felt well towards him for that, because he's just got the kind of the shape of a player. Like signing him from Motherwell and playing him on the wing just seems to make perfect sense when you see him. So I'd really like him to do well and come back and play in our team. Then we can sell Dan James, because we'll have Stuart McKinstry
and we'll have
wing.
Wilfred Noto as well, who's been linked to us. It was interesting to see Jesse speak about him and say that they liked him. Certainly didn't rule him out, did he? Think very highly of him.
Because Phil seemed like he was sort of saying, I don't know, they don't seem to be saying anything about this. And then a couple of days later, Jesse came out and went, oh yeah, we know him, we think he's really good.
Do you think Jesse's messing with Phil? If Phil had been like, oh yeah, Leeds are definitely interested in him, Jesse would have said, don't know the player, not aware of him.
He does hate Phil, you can see.
I think it's building up to that.
Building up to it. But it sounds like he'd be sort of I guess he's an interesting player, because I mentioned on the Phil Hay show when we brought him up that like he seems too high profile to go into the development. Like Sonny Perkins, you can just about understand. He's got first team minutes. He's played in Europe for West Ham.
Yeah, about 3.
Yeah, but he's
West
kind
Ham
of
hated. Like, it's no wonder he left. They weren't using him at all.
But he's knocking on the door, isn't he? Whereas Noto's got like a full cap for Italy. Just seems to be that little sort of step further on in his progression, if you like. You know, playing first team football. It doesn't seem like he'd come and just drop into the 21s or anything like that. So you almost, well, do we sign him and then send him out on loan? It almost feels like maybe he'd be the prototype for that almost.
Who's he playing for now?
Zurich, I think.
Zurich.
FC Zurich.
It's an interesting one, because the Premier League likes to think it has that status where just to get close to being a Premier League player, you would leave first team football with FC Zurich and go and play in the under-21s at Leeds, because you're then just a step away from Premier League football. But I'm not sure that necessarily tracks. I think that's kind of the league puffing itself up a little bit. But then you'd have, if I was his agent, I might be saying, look, you're in the first team at FC Zurich, but pay rise, Premier League, you're in the right place, shop window, all that kind of stuff that could loan you to another club. So those kind of details may cancel out playing in the Swiss league, but don't know.
It's hard to get too upset either way about it, isn't it? See what happens.
I wasn't trying to get upset.
Not you, I meant you in the royal sense.
Okay.
You know, like it's like whatever happens. It's not going to be the defining moment of this transfer window, whether we do or don't get Noto, is it?
I mean, Matteo Joseph and
Gnonto.
Gnonto.
Sonny Perkins have both started quite well in the under-21s, and Joseph in particular, having been here since January, looks like he's finding a bit of a groove.
It was the January signing we were all crying out for.
Yes, well, young Sonny got 2 goals, didn't he, as well? So
we beat Aston Villa, put them back in their place, which is good. So always like to see Villa lose and Leeds win. Those are some of the things I like.
Second in the league after 3 games with 7 points. It all sounds very familiar. the 21s following the first team. Is that right?
Seems to be.
Well, it was wins all round at the weekend.
Except they were relegated like a set of chumps last year.
Last year's last year until somebody makes a documentary about it. The under 18s won as well. They beat Liverpool 2-1.
Good.
With 2 players who we only signed in the last... I think one signed in the summer and one signed in the week. And it was... What were the names? They had good names. Max McFadden.
The kid from Cardiff, that. Yeah.
Yeah, and Charlie Crew.
Another kid from somewhere else.
Yeah, he came from somewhere else.
Good, yeah.
But they both come in with good names and scored, I've not seen the goals, good goals.
Yeah. Excellent. Leeds United women back in action as well. And are we claiming credit for this again? Because we sponsor Olivia Smart, who's our awesome sweary fullback.
Yep, scored the goal. It's a bit of a shame for him, really. The game was on Sunday, first game of the season, clashing with Leeds United's first team, which
there will be every week from now. It's because
which is not ideal.
This level, the games just get played on Sundays because generally people might have to work Saturdays. It's probably easy to get Sunday off.
Yeah, Olivia, who we did an excellent extra ball with last year. We should actually sit down and speak to her again this year, just find out how things have changed, because I'd be curious to see what the sort of knock-on effect is of like the women's Euros and the profile that got in the country, and whether it'll translate into people going to the women's game in this country, and how now Leeds women are back under the auspices of the football club proper, whether they can start to raise their profile a little bit more and be more integrated and start to climb the ladder.
It's been a change in management over summer as well, hasn't there? And it seems...
back under the auspices of Rick Passmore, who won the League Cup with Leeds ladies, as was in 2010, got us to an FA Cup final as well.
And a good nominative determinism there as well, having a coach called Passmore in your team.
Yep.
Running your team, sorry, not in your team.
But it was Fight More was there you go, there's a good link, because there was a scrap at the end, sadly not caught by the LUTV cameras. I've not trawled to see whether any Hull fan cams or if they had a different view of it, but yeah, you could... there seemed to be some afters after a tackle. Paige Williams for Leeds, Amy Pollock for Hull. And while the camera is over on the left half of the pitch looking at the referee, all you can hear is people on the right half of the pitch going, "Ref, look!" And we don't get to see it. And then we finally scan over just as the players are being separated. It's always annoying. You always want to see a fight in a football match.
Having not seen it, who do you think was the guilty party?
Well, it was Amy Pollock all over.
I think so as well.
She's
known for it.
I was going to say she's got a good reputation in the game and it was out of character. I see that you see things differently. The Pollock family can take that up with you.
A dreadful troublemaker who needs kicking out of the game.
Well, Paige Williams is a saint.
I would say so.
She'll have been goaded into doing something.
Goaded, excellent word.
But yeah, they both got sent off. But 1-0 to Leeds.
Against Hull, wasn't it?
Against Hull City. Olivia Smart scored. And Hull were relegated from the division above last year, and there was a bit of there's a rivalry involved in this with the old Yorkshire stuff, and so a good result against a decent team. Some of Hull's players are pretty good. Rachel Ackroyd plays up front for them, who used to play for Leeds back in the day and has always been a really, really good striker. So
but is now a turncoat.
Yeah, but to keep her out of, she didn't score, so that's good.
Yeah. Speaking of towns that hate Leeds, how's that for a segue? Barnsley in the League Cup. We're in that strange netherworld, as I mentioned before, of
Barnsley.
Yes, the end.
It's a strange netherworld.
Venturing into Mordor. It's Tuesday afternoon as we record this, but just because of the recording schedule and the Wednesday night game, this is likely to come out after the game. So we've now got to preview it and also probably react to it. We're going to do a match ball, I think, aren't we?
Yeah.
This one's coming and do a match ball.
It'd be exciting. All new players and stuff to look at, maybe.
So
we might have Heckingbottom on co-coms or something.
Oh, brilliant.
Top of the league is Hecky.
Yeah, doing well, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he'll want to get on his face on telly then, won't he? Unless they've got a game as well.
Paul Heckingbottom as the coach of Leeds United, doesn't that feel like not just a lifetime ago, but eons ago?
What if he wins the Premier League, though?
Who? Hecky?
We just had him too soon. Same with Thomas Christensen when Panama win the World Cup. We'll just realise...
Have they qualified for the World Cup?
Not this time.
Not this time, okay.
But he has renewed his contract. He cried and renewed his contract. So
excellent.
Everything's going very well for him.
I'm looking forward to this Barnsley game because there's no real pressure on it, but it is a nice sort of springboard to get into maybe a cup run this year. And by cup run, I mean more than one game in each competition. see some new players as well, because I'm itching to see Sinisterra, and it feels like this might be a nice kind of almost semi-softball way into the team for him, so we can see what he's made of. Maybe
Gelhardt gets half a game at least in this, you would think.
You'd start him. Unless you want to protect him so. You're worried about protecting him while Bamford's out, so you won't want him to risk him, so you might do Joseph.
You have to play someone else, though.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Now a new striker signing. I've heard about that before.
Remember when, I think it was Max Gradle, wasn't it, that we didn't know he'd signed until we got to the game? I remember that being
those were the glory days.
Hugely exciting. You're like, there's a player on the bench.
Sorry, who?
Signed from, I think there was Gradle and someone else. Both appeared on the bench for a night match, and it was like, oh my God.
I mean, Rob did a thing on the blog the end of last week reminiscing about when Beckford and Candle both got sent off. So we signed Wayne Andrews and Mark De Vries.
That was at that game.
And played them against Oldham. And that's how you do football.
What year was that, Moscow?
2007, I think.
It was our first year in League One.
Yeah, so 2007. I was at that game, and I remember it was Oldham away, and for the benefit of anybody who's never been to Oldham, particularly on a midweek game, it's high up in the hills, isn't it, as Oldham? That ground always just felt horribly cold and exposed, always one of the coldest away terraces, going back to visiting it in like the 80s as a kid, just been freezing. I've always remember being freezing at Oldham. It was a bleak place, and it may have been either raining or foggy that night, and it was just a dreadful, awful League One game. Two sides that were just shit, and we'd put in two attackers who'd never played for us before on loan, because we had nobody else, basically, and obviously they looked like two attackers who'd never played for us before, and the sort of attackers who'd come in at very short notice and were available and therefore not that good, with the best will in the world. And it was a terrible, terrible game, yet Ian Westlake came on and scored, and it was very late on, wasn't it? How late was that goal? Was it 95 minutes or 85? I can't even remember, but I just remember a night of complete drudge, just having that lovely finish to it, a nice moment at the end.
And is that what you're hoping for tomorrow night?
Speaking of a nice moment of the end, if you do go, and I'll ruin the ending of Rob's beautiful blog post, but Wayne Andrews' son now plays football for Watford, Ryan Andrews, and Watford's YouTube channel did a little feature of Ryan looking at video highlights of his dad playing, and the quote about his father's football is, "It's all right, the quality is not there."
Wow.
Nothing any Leeds fan can say about Wayne Andrews at Leeds will ever be as scathing as his own son saying the quality is not there. Yeah. But that's how you do it. If your strikers are unavailable for what was essentially, I think there were only like 1 or 2 game bans at most, go and get to others.
Yep.
What is Victor Orta playing at? He needs to take a lesson out of Dennis Wise's book. He was a great success as director of football at Newcastle, which he moved to.
Just an all-round good guy, Moscow.
He went to from Leeds to be closer to his family in London. And if we just follow the model of just sticking some new players on the bench for a game, or even in the team. So maybe that's the dream. We turn up against Barnsley and somebody's...
Sam Vokes and Max Gradle are in the team.
That would be amazing.
So yeah, it is. So this will probably come out after Barnsley.
Finally landed Gary Hooper.
Talk to me about how you feel about that game, and what I'll do is we'll just record 2 versions now, and I'll just put out the version that's relevant, that works. Obviously you'll hear the real match ball reaction to that, but how do you feel it went, Michael?
Good. Yeah, I think it was a steady win, kind of as I'd expect. The quality was too much for them. They're not they're not the same level as anymore, are they? And good to see some of the young players. Sinisterra looks really dangerous. Joffrey, it's a shame you can't give more minutes in the Premier League, but you can't really drop Rodrigo, can you? But good for him to get his hat-trick.
Yep.
Should see him in good stead for the weekend.
What do you think of Sinisterra?
Electric. Shame about the leg break. But, these things happen.
Moscow, that was disappointing, wasn't it? So we'll edit it there if we lose.
Yeah, I mean, it's the injuries that really we've got to worry about. The result speaks for itself. Everyone will see that in the papers. But... Are they waiting for the papers, or might they say it on Twitter first? It was always going to be the question of who do you risk in this game? And I think the fact that, it's not only that Brendan Aronson is going to be out of our season, but he's missing the World Cup as well. It's a tragedy. So I think it's been really unfortunate. On the upside, though, I don't think Christopher Clarkson can be blamed for any of the 5 goals. There you go, then. That wraps up part 1 of the show. I hope Michael's right.
Apart from
the Sinisterra's leg.
Sinisterra's leg.
Apart from that.
Let's hope his leg's fine. And you actually are going to have to edit it if he does get injured, because I will be seen to be making light of someone breaking the leg, which he's not going to do, is he?
Yeah, let's hope Brendan Aronson doesn't play. Don't play him.
How are Barnsley doing this season?
Fine.
Is that official?
Yeah, they're all right.
They're in League One, aren't they?
They're okay. They lost. No.
Are they?
Yeah, they lost.
Yeah.
3-0 to Morecambe.
Oh, they're 16th in League One.
That's all right.
They're absolute cack.
That's fine.
We'll beat them. We've got to.
Old boys, because Apo Jaume went back to Helsinki and scored at the weekend after we mentioned him last week. But they've still got Clark, Shut That Door, and Liam Kitchen, who are our two former players.
Well, we're coming into this game on the back of a 3-0 win against Chelsea. They're coming in from a 3-0 defeat at home to Wickham.
So 3-0 Barnsley.
Set up perfectly.
There you go. That is the end of part one. Then we have the proper preview for Brighton on the way for you in just a bit. And we'll pick the week's heroes and villains as well. Stick about.
The Square Ball Podcast.